Porsalin, how are you?
I'm feeling okay. I had a really bad pizza last night, and I woke up and severe diarrhea kind of issues. But it's fighting on, doing my best I can.
But that's it. I remember that joke that Nick DiPaolo said about pizza. He says, "Pizza's like a good blowjob. Even when it's bad, you still get to pay for it."
Yeah. It's the first I've been on some stupid like pointless health kick thing, and it's the first pizza I've had in 7 months. So I think my body's just in shock at the moment of all the fucking carbs and shit. So it was just like, yeah, let's force this stuff out as quickly as we can.
But I'm actually in like a heavy training routine at the minute because coming to late November, December, all I do is eat chocolate and meat.
Oh god. Yeah. Those months are a killer. Like, I've been good over the summer, but like it's going to be chaos winter time for sure.
But let's talk about the Norton documentary. So what was it that actually made you want to make the worm has turned?
Well, you probably I don't know if you're familiar with the first one I did, the Joe Matarese one. I've kind of like had a weird I wouldn't say obsession, but with Joe Matarese, he's kind of like his story arc is just like so funny and insane that after seeing the beige frequency stuff, I just got it in my head that like this has to be done to Joe Matarese. I was obsessed with the idea, and I really wanted Beige to do it, but obviously he's really busy with the Kumia one, and I wouldn't want to detract him from that because it's superb. But so I just was like, you know what? I could probably do this myself, actually. So I looked at what Beige was doing. I looked at what that Chris Chan guy did with his documentary series, which is fucking awesome. And I was just like, yeah, I could probably do that. I can sort of get my way around Premiere. So I ended up doing the Joe Matarese one. And subreddit really liked it. And it got a few views, not too many sort of thing. And people were just sort of asking for me to do another one. And I kind of went through the list of people associated with the show. And Jim has always been a kind of a guy that I've loved and hated in equal measure, and especially of recent times, like the downfall of Jim and Sam. As bad as Sam is, and Sam's bad, but he's bad. Everyone knows he's bad, so it's kind of like there's no story there that, or at least not a big story. Jim, on the other hand, he was beloved by like everybody, and the way that he's turned that show into just pure dog shit just made me resent him almost. But like I still like him, but it just felt like it was a perfect story to sort of tell, I think.
Do you remember the episode? This is from the way early O&A days where they had I think it was Goldschlager drinks campaign girls in.
Oh yeah, I remember that episode. Yeah.
And the girl was hammered drunk, and Jimmy took her into like a side room and had sex with her, and then the girl was crying.
Yeah, I was tempted to include that, but there's so much kind of speculation, and there's so much kind of like you're starting to get into waters there where it's a bit dicey kind of thing. Maybe I'll do like maybe I'll do like
that hoa.
He took her in the side and fucked that hoa. Oh,
you should fuck her. I did.
Dude, that's a really good impression.
Thanks over there.
People have been asking for me to do like an addendum, so I might think about doing it because there's still some stuff I missed. And if I do one, I might get the balls enough to start to maybe cover that sort of, the show that can't be named or whatever the hell it was called. So I might think about that. But yeah, I think did you say that you and Sainzy was saying that was kind of a turning point?
No, we think that might be what's got Jimmy so on edge these days.
Oh right, you think like he's always thinking about that, thinking that like my chicken's gonna come home to roost at some point, or?
Oh, definitely. I mean, like there's people are now getting called out as racist based on their hairstyle. And the fact that Jimmy waited until this girl was like drunk to take her into a room and have sex.
Wow, of course, yeah.
So he must be sitting there, and that's why I think it was on Beige Frequency's channel where he had this clip of Jimmy like really fidgeting in the way his face was twitching and all. And that's anxiety. So it's like any second now his career is finished.
No, dude, you're totally right. And there's a clip as well. I didn't even know this clip existed until after I made the thing. And I really regret not knowing about it because it would have fit perfectly in the Louis C.K. segment. It's a clip where Opie and Jimmy are talking, and Jimmy's explaining how he was at some event or club or something, or like concert or something. And he talks about how he gets his dick out. and then just rests his dick on the jeans of an unsuspecting woman, and he just like sits there, and it's like they talk about it as if it's like a kind of a funny goof. But I mean, this like that is insane. Like if the right like publication gets that, if TMZ grabs that and runs with it, or whatever fucking dog shit magazine runs with that, how can he justify his stance on Louis C.K. if he's admitted to taking his dick out and contacting another woman's fucking asshole with it without her knowing? It's disgusting. Like, and I think, like you said, I think that there is a sense that the chickens are coming home to roost, and I think he's trying to get his cards in early, and he's trying to like set himself up as this kind of like PC guy that's like cool with the Me Too thing, and that's kind of like not into like. And I think at some point he's degenerate enough that at some point a lot of things might come out about him. Not terrible things, but I think enough things that will make a little bit of a stir. And
plus, I've noticed that he's doing the Uncle Paul jokes less and less these days.
Oh, yeah. If I included that, it would be a stretch. But like, you're probably right. Like, there might be a reason for that. Like, I mean, even now, like, his sort of interest in dating is still within that same age demographic, the late teens to early 20s. I mean, I know Anthony gets a lot of shit for the demographic of girls that he goes for, but Jim is the same. Jim still enjoys dating very young girls, like considered, I mean, legal girls, but like young for his age bracket. And I don't think people really focus on that enough. I don't think people really look at that enough. And I mean, if you're 15, you can get away with banging fucking like teenage, well, not teenage, but like early 20s models, and then all the best to you. But like, there's still not something right with somebody doing that. I think there's still kind of like, I'm 32 now, and I don't date like I don't date women under like 23. Not on a specific like for a reason, but like I just don't. It's just like my tastes have changed, like my interests have changed, and I kind of like the people I find attractive kind of matured a little bit, and it just doesn't seem to have happened to these guys. They seem to be in a state of arrested development. So, I mean, with Jim's dating profile, with the demographic that he chooses to date, I wouldn't rule it out that the Uncle Paul thing might be something in there. That there might be a reason that the Uncle Paul character existed in the first place, that isn't just to have fun at pedophiles or have fun at like. So I don't know. Like, it's obviously a lot of speculation, but I wouldn't discount it.
And plus, Jim has been very open about the fact that he was sexually active as a child.
Oh yeah. And the fact that, like, I mean, let's not. He was abused as a child, like, absolutely. There's tales of all kinds of sexual abuse. I mean, he plays it off as if, oh, it was all fun and games, but that's abuse. Like, he was abused as a child. And the number one key to understanding like sexual predators and pedophiles and things is the common thread there is that a lot of them were abused as children. And again, this is mass speculation, and I'm not saying specifically that he's a sexual abuser or anything, but like, he's got all of the key ingredients. If you think about like dating, the demographic of women that he dates, the sexual abuse as a child, the proclivity to want violent sex or kind of degenerate sex that he likes, the transsexual thing. He's got all the key ingredients for somebody that might perform some kind of sexual abuse. But again, pure speculation. But I'm just saying it's an interesting thing to think about.
And he knows Anthony Cumia.
And he has defended Anthony Cumia for all of the bizarre. I mean, Jim knows as much as anyone. He knows everything that the sub knows about Anthony. I'm sure of it. But he's still his favorite person. Louis C.K., nah, fuck him. But Anthony, like, yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine in my books.
I gotta be honest though, not that I think it's okay with what Louis C.K. did. But when I heard about him getting in that scandal, I thought good, because I'm gonna say it, I never found Louis C.K. that funny, and I thought he was kind of a dick.
Yeah, that's fair. I think in the latter years, he definitely turned a lot of people off with his artsy shit. Horace and Pete, Horace and Pete, rather, I wasn't really a fan of. I thought it was pretentious, and I thought it was self-aggrandizing. And I think he was going down a path that was not necessarily enjoyable for anybody. And the big one was him going on that talk show and almost crying about how he thinks that Hillary's should be an amazing leader because she's a mom and she's a woman, and women and women moms, that kind of thing. And it disgusted me, like really genuinely disgusted me. And it's the idea of like I want comedians to stay in their lanes. I don't like it when comedians go off to do talk shows. I don't like comedians that go off and do political things. And even on the right as well, when you look at Nick DiPaolo and Anthony, like I don't like it when people that are funny stray away from their lanes. Like stay in your lane. Louis C.K. for me, he's early, like between 2006 or 2004 and like 2010, funniest guy on the planet in my opinion. Like I thought he was very funny. And but yeah, he lost his way massively. But that doesn't discount the fact that he's probably still a funny guy. And I mean, it might be really naive of me, but I really hope that this whole thing has kicked him up the arse and, brought out some kind of like new Louis again. But I don't think I think he's going to just go back to the artsy, virtue signaling kind of feminist Louis again, which is really disappointing, but I can always hope.
The thing is, it's amazing how much this past presidential election campaign killed the fan bases of so many famous people. Because with like Trump, like I'm not a Trump supporter. I just like to jerk off to him because he's so sexy. But with Hillary Clinton, it's like if you think that is a feminist, then you think I'm Denzel Washington.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, exactly. I mean, she's really standing up for the women out there by sticking by a rapist for 20 years for a career. And like, I mean, come on. I thought feminists are supposed to go at it alone and despite them and not latch onto a man to elevate yourself because of his success. That is the anti-feminist, Nate. That's completely opposite to what feminism is. It should be about standing on your own 2 feet, regardless of men's achievements, and equaling their achievements based on your own merit. And what she's done for her entire career is support probably a pedophile, definitely a rapist, definitely a sexual abuser, and all for monetary and career gain. Like it's totally the opposite. And yet all the feminists stray towards her because she's got tits and a vagina. Albeit really saggy, disgusting tits and a probably mutated, violent vagina, but she's still got those parts.
I'd fuck her. Peter Howard. But the thing about Clinton is that that's with CK saying that sort of stuff about her. You just think, mate, you're an idiot.
Oh yeah. I mean, he acknowledged it in the interview that he was immediately going to like segregate his audience by saying it, but then he goes and says it anyway. And it's like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, you do realize that a lot of your fans don't agree with this. A lot of your fans don't like this, like what you're saying. But I guess like he's too big at that point to give a fuck anyway. He's like, well, I'll get fans regardless. So I'll just say what I want. And it's like, yeah, but now a lot of people really don't like you, Louis. And who knew a year later you were going to go through a completely massive career ruining moment, and you don't necessarily have that platform anymore, Louis. So yeah, life's a bitch.
The other thing about like the whole Opie and Anthony thing is that the way I loved it is that Jim was like the witty comedy guy.
Yeah.
Anthony was like the impressionist, the insane person. But Opie was actually a good interviewer.
Actually, yeah. And if you this is a weird one as well with the equating the Opie and the interview thing. There's a couple of guests in particular. I think Bill Burr's one of them, and Artie's another. And and when Opie was doing his own show with the his laughter posse, and then Jim was doing his Jim and Sam show, when they both had Bill Burr in, and Braunheiser, Tef Patton, he enlightened me to this. He said, I will put money behind the fact that Bill Burr's appearance on Opie's show was way better than Bill Burr's appearance on Jim and Sam's show. A lot of it was because Jim tried to sit there and interview Bill. And we all know Jim's a terrible interviewer with the your wife died. So tell me about, so like, Jim treated Bill Burr like an interview. It was really weird because Bill's been in the studio for like 10 years now, and like he knows the deal. You go in there, you hang out, and you just chat and stuff. Where Jim just sat there and interviewed him in a professional. It was really weird. Opie brought Bill Burr in. I think Opie might have had one or two of his like laughter crew in there as well, but they just like had fun. And they just like fucked around. It was way better. And the same with Artie Lang as well. When Artie Lang went into Jim and Sam, he went in with Rich Voss, and they sat there and they talked about addiction in a like seriously. They seriously talked about addiction for like 2 hours, and it was boring as fuck. It was really like stories you've heard a million times. No fun, no nothing. When he goes in with Gilbert Gottfried to Opie's show. It was actually a funny show. They were like they did that Beatles bit way better than the Jim and Sam version, and I think Opie's just better at that. Opie's better at understanding the guest and where the guest is in relation to the room. Like if it's a Bill Burr type, Opie knows that okay, I don't have to do the interview thing here. If it's not a Bill Burr thing, Opie knows that he does, but Opie's better than Jim at the interview thing anyway, so it kind of works. I'm not saying I'm an Opie fan. I still think it kind of sucks, but there's arguments that he's better than Jim in those kind of areas. I think Jim's interview thing is terrible. I think he's the worst interviewer I might have ever heard. Speaking of awkward, have you heard the rumors and theories that Jim has relapsed with booze? Whoa, no, I've not heard anything about that. Yeah, it's because do you remember there was a photo that leaked out or whatever? It was taken later last year where Jimmy was out at a restaurant with a chick with a dick. Oh, yeah. And there was like a wine glass on the table. Yeah, dude, like if Jim saw a wine glass on his table, he would freak the fuck out. But it was like filled with it was like a half-filled wine glass. And also, and of course, there's that the famous crying live stream he did from Las Vegas. Oh yeah, the one that he denies doing. Yeah, so the theory is from some people that maybe Jim is not full on the piss, but that he's back on the taking a few slips over here. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised about that. Like because he used to talk about his sobriety a lot on the old show. Like he used to celebrate the anniversaries of when he was like I've got the clip on the thing that I did of him celebrating 26 years sober, and it was a big part of him, and it doesn't seem to be really talking about that much now. And I think if anything's going to drive you to drinking, it's the fact that the girl you fell in love with and wanted to marry was still speaking to other Chatterbait customers and probably saw you pretty much as a pay pig. So I think that there's definitely enough reasons for Jim to drink. It's just whether or not his resolve is big enough and strong enough for him to stop himself. I don't know whether or not he was ever an addict per se. I mean, there's not a lot of stories about him as a kid, or not enough stories as him as a kid. He talks about mischief that he gets into, but it all sounds kind of light. It wasn't like, oh yeah, when I was 17, I drank bleach and stabbed myself in the stomach, so I had to stop drinking. It was like, oh yeah, we put a turd in a bag and put it in front of someone's doorway and ran away, so I had to stop drinking because that was that was a dark road, a dark path. It's like he was just getting into light mischief, if anything. Like, and you look at like Bobby Kelly's upbringing and stuff, like that's really dark shit. But like. So I don't think Jim necessarily was ever an addict. I think he could probably drink and be fine. I just think he likes it being part of his personality. So, and I do think that he, like you said, I think he's had enough reasons to drink. The Princess Alina thing, and even just the constant abuse from the trolls about the like $60,000. And I mean, there's plenty of reasons. The documentary's full of reasons for Jim to drink. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's relapsed at any point of his life. And plus, he was in Dublin last December and November. And I don't know if you've ever been to Dublin, but you've more chance of not getting cold at winter than you do of going to Dublin and not drinking. Yeah, I've been to Cork. I've never been to Dublin, though. But from what I hear, it's pretty much impossible to go to Dublin and not drink. It seems like it's the only reason to visit Dublin in the first place. No disrespect to Dublin. Yeah, because we were in Dublin about a week or two ago to see the Brian Wilson,
I was with this friend who's a homophobe, and we walked past this gay bar that looks so great that we're like, we can't not go in there.
Yeah.
And they went in, we got our dick sucked by the barman. It was great, you know.
I like the fact that you introduced this. That's the first thing you introduce this friend as to in any circumstance. Like, yeah, I got this friend. He's a homophobe.
Oh God!
just like so blasé. Just like that's just the word I use to introduce my friend at all times in all certain social circumstances.
I've got a friend who's so homophobic that strangers don't know if he's joking or not.
Oh yeah, I know people like that.
He'd literally introduce himself to be like, "Hey, nice to meet you. How's it going? See, gay people. Here's the top 5 problems with them," and you just think, "Oh shit, just you know."
Yeah, there's a lot of those around.
Speaking of convicts, talk to me about the Z&Z review that you got of the.
Oh yeah. I think the second one was definitely more fair, and I appreciate that he went away, and because I do feel like the first time I went into the chat with him, was it Cosmic, his buddy there? He messaged me and was like, yeah, would you like to come on Say&Z show? He's talking about your documentary. He didn't give me any idea of what he wanted to talk about, but at that point, most people, I mean, the overwhelming response to the documentary was really positive, like stupidly positive, like more than I could have hoped for, really. So I was like, okay, Sayans probably liked it, like everyone else kind of liked it. So yeah, I'll talk to Sayans. I don't really have any beef with the guy, so yeah, we'll do it. And yeah, I don't think he was being fair at all, and I think it was pretty easy to see that. And I don't hate the guy or anything like that. He's you know, but I think what he was trying to do the first time, I think he was just trying to drum up a little bit of drama. And I think also he was very drunk, obviously. So in my head, I was thinking to myself, okay, just remember, he's very drunk. So don't, my big thing was like, don't match his energy, because I've seen that happen when people get into these arguments, that the minute you match their energy, you're in the mud pit with them and you're both covered in mud at that point. So I was like, okay, I can't really do that. So I'm trying to like be a bit measured, trying to like talk a bit fair and stuff. And my big point was that, and I wasn't trying to be mean, but I said this was going over your head in a sense that you're too drunk right now to understand maybe some of the nuance and subtext to it. And so I try to just suggest that you watch it again in the morning. There's every chance that he doesn't like it. There's every chance that someone doesn't like it. There's loads of people that don't like it. If you look at the YouTube comments, there's plenty of Jim Norton fans that hate the thing. And that's fine. That's totally fine. Like, I'm not doing it to change the minds of Jim Norton fans. I did it because it's, you know, I like the story. I think it's an interesting story to tell. And so, yeah, so luckily enough, we cut it off there at a good point that night with Say&Z, because I realized that there wasn't really anywhere we were going. It was just a lot of like ad hominem attacks, really. So I felt like, okay, I'll maybe I'll talk to him tomorrow. Maybe he'll watch it again. If not, then that's fine also. And then luckily enough, he came into a Discord channel yesterday and was like, hey Porsalin, I'm going to be reviewing the documentary. I finally sat down and watched it, and I watched the second half, and then I watched it from beginning to end. And he said, I think you'll like my review. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And so I ended up tuning into his show, and I was in his chat, and yeah, he made a lot of headway into liking it, and he said it's good. So that's absolutely, that's the best I can hope for. And he had his criticisms for it, and I think that some of them were definitely warranted. I do feel like there was too much build up, but in a way it was, I think it's very difficult for someone like Sayans, who knows everything about these people. It's very difficult because you see that subtext, you see that opening part, you see the first half of it, and you know those stories so well that it's not interesting. But what I wanted the documentary to be, I wanted it to be a bit more of a broad kind of idiot's guide to Jim Norton. So I wanted anyone to be able to pick that up and go, who's Jim Norton? Okay, this is Jim Norton. Oh, fuck, Jim Norton did this. Oh, shit, Jim Norton's a bad guy. Or not, I don't want to say he's a bad guy, but like, oh, shit, Jim Norton's like, there's a lot of weird stuff there. So yeah, it was more, and that's the difference between this and Beige. Like, I think the equivalencies between this and Beige's documentaries, there's a number of false equivalencies to them. I think one of the biggest ones is that Beige is serialized, whereas this is a one and done. When you do a one and done documentary, you have to skim. You really there's so much that I wanted to dive deeper into, but you're conscious of length. You're conscious of keeping the attention span of people because it's one sit through. Whereas in a serialized thing like Beige's, you can take your time and you can really poke into. And that was a decision that I made early on. I was like, I don't want to do what Beige is doing because first of all, I don't necessarily want to step on toes. Second of all, I'm too much of a fan of what Beige is doing on a personal level for me to just carbon copy that. I want to do something that's a little different, but I also want to take what he's doing onto other people because ultimately Beige is just one guy. Like he can't cover everybody because it's like making these things. It's a lot of work. So yeah, I came at it like that. So I can understand people that might like Beige's for those reasons that might not like this one, and I can understand people that think that this isn't as in depth as Beige's. So that's a negative on this one as well. But I don't see the equivalences there. I think that they both have their place, and I think that the reaction to both of them have been enough to warrant their creation in the first place. And I'm really glad to be part of it. And I'm really glad that Beige's, dude, I can't wait for the Joe Cormier episode. Episode 4 of Beige's documentary was probably one of my best documentary experiences I've been through. And I'm a huge documentary fan. Like I watch as many as I physically can. And episode 4 of Beige's one as a standalone was just great. It was fantastic. So I'm just a fan of documentaries, and I just a fan of really interesting stories. And to me, Jim Norton was a really interesting story. And that's the long story short. And I think that Z had some good points about it. I think where he misstepped, I think him driving the point that this is nowhere near as good as Beige's, like over and over again, that's not very helpful, and it's not very. Doesn't really say anything about the documentary, but like his actual criticisms of it, when he dives into the criticisms of it, are totally valid. And I will definitely take them on board. And I think like when he said as well, sorry, I'm rambling on a bit here, but when he said about that I should have got him in as an interview instead of Tef Patton, that is also a really valid thing because again, he's known to Jim and Sam as well. But the what happened there is more of a logistical decision because I'm in the Discord server with Braun, with Tef Patton, and me and Tef Patton are very close. So I kind of wanted to first of all I wanted to include him because I respect him and I really like him as a person, and secondly he was just there. So me and him did the interview like there and then, and once I had that interview, then I had to like cut it down. Cut it in length and then include it in the documentary. And then to do that again with sayings, first of all, it'll make the documentary long. Second of all, it'll make that interview segment too long for the audience to be captivated by it. And third of all, it would delay the release of the documentary. So I had to kind of make a decision and just say, sorry, Carl, Tef's done me an interview, so I don't need one from you. But like, I mean, this isn't the only document. I'm going to be doing a Sam Roberts one. I'm going to be doing plenty. And there's plenty where I really hope Sayans can get involved at some point. So I think that'll be cool.
And just as we're wrapping up here, you mentioned that you're going to start a Sam Roberts documentary. So what is the process on that, or the progress, should I say?
Well, I've not started it yet. My first thing will be sourcing. The process goes. The first thing is sourcing material and just researching, and then thinking in my head of a rough sort of timeline. So so I was very lucky in the last 2 documentaries. The first documentary with Joe Matarese, I started just doing the research myself based on what I know, and then I started thinking like, I'm not utilizing the people here. There are plenty of people. Like there's autists on the subreddit. There are autists in Red Bar's Bring Back group. So I went to Mike David actually of Red Bar and spoke to him, and he was great. He was I showed him like the first 10 minutes of the Matarese documentary, and he was he basically just said, "Leave it with me. I will get my guys working on it, and we'll get you all the clips you want." And he did. The Bring Back group just started giving me. Basically, they did my research for me, and it was fantastic. So it was like. At that point, I threw my old timeline away, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna focus on what these guys are giving me because it's great. The same thing happened with the Jim Norton one. I was stuck for 4 clips, 4 things I needed on the Jim Norton documentary that I thought I needed. So I went to the subreddit and I was like, I'm doing a Jim Norton documentary. If you guys have any idea where I could find these 4 things, that'd be really appreciated. not only did they find those 4 things, but they basically again made me throw my old timeline away and go through the whole thing again. And I think there were over like 150 comments, and it was just crazy amounts of like really autistic, like time coded random videos that I've never even heard of before, random audio clips, unlisted videos all over the place. It was really, really good. So I think for the Sam Roberts one, I've got a couple of people around me that are openly helping, but there's definitely I will definitely look to the subreddit to sort of give me a little bit more. Sam Roberts is more of a passion project because I despise the man so much at this point. So I don't really care if people want it or they don't want it. I have to do it. I'm really sorry. It's got to be made. I have to do it.